Hi, welcome. Today we're going to build the Charles Bridge, which is located in Prague, Czechia. This is going to be a longer video, so get all cozy, grab yourself a nice snack, or maybe a nice little drink, and a warm blanket, and enjoy. As I do in my videos, I am also going to comment on what I'm doing, and as I've been to Prague before, I will also tell you some stories. Now this time I can also share some of my personal experience with the city, as I have actually visited it before. And if you do hang around, you'll hear some secret tips on what to visit, what to prepare for, and what to avoid. As you can see, I already went in with a couple of building elements. I'm already placing them down to create a pavement, sort of foundation of the whole town. And these elements are just regular buildings that are sized down and made a bit larger. And as you can see, you can use it as a foundation, and it's really perfect for medieval style cities, such as Prague, for example. And yeah, I'm just placing down the elements here and having a hard time with the sheep because they are actually in the way, and they didn't actually fly away, and I was worried that they would be stuck under the building, so I just stopped for a while. And now I'm trying to make them fly away, and there he goes. And I just noticed when I was building this that the sheep actually make those funny emojis when you place buildings on them. I don't know if you noticed, and actually not sure if this was part of the new update they released, but I think it's really cute, really wholesome to have the sheep react to placing items on them. Very cute. Now here I'm placing the terrain tool, just making sure that this side is a bit higher, because this is the old town area actually, and it is a bit higher up in reality, so that's why I want to reflect that in the build. And on to the other end is the castle district, where you have actually the castle on the top right side, I believe. But however, that part is not going to be part of this build, because this build focuses on the Charles Bridge and the towers. The castle would be a whole another project. However, if you'd want to see me build the castle as well, please let me know in the comments, and I would be happy to do that as well. And I already started working on the bridge. It's getting its shape right now. And I'm just moving the objects, the little buildings around, and just trying to figure out what to do next. And speaking of the bridge, when I first went to Prague, it was really amazing. It was a very wholesome experience, because the first night when I visited, I actually went and checked out the bridge, and I did walk on the bridge. However, it was super foggy, and I don't think I have seen in my life a foggier evening than then. Or maybe it was also because it was on the river, and I have never seen such a foggy weather, and in combination with like an area where there is water. Perhaps the fogginess could have been seen more than just in between buildings, I don't know. But yeah, it was a very foggy evening, and I couldn't really see much of the bridge. However, I still remember that moment as one of my fondest moments ever. It was just one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. It was just really unique, and the place, the bridge and its surrounding area was super cool. And the next day when I actually went there and the fog lifted, it felt like just this mystery that surrounded the bridge was lifted, and I could see it in its full glory. So it was a very cool experience. I loved it. Yeah, and now I'm just moving around little elements that I saw on the images and when I was there. Just trying to get the right proportion, so you'll see me a lot moving things around. I also chose this build because my grandmother has been to Prague when she was young. She would travel around quite a lot when she was young, and she told me stories about when she was there, and one of her best experiences was actually seeing the bridge. Hence, I really wanted to do this bridge and also show it to her so she can see it as well. And when I was there, I actually got her, I think, a snow globe. Yeah, it was a snow globe. And you have like the liquid they usually have in it, the fake water or whatever that is, or it's actually maybe water, I don't know what they use, and that fake snow, and they have the bridge. So I gave her that, and she still keeps that in her kitchen because she spends a lot of time in her kitchen, so she always keeps that around. So I think that's a really lovely thing from her, that she just keeps it around all the time. Here I realized that I have to go in again and just modify a bit more the landscape, because the bridge is actually bigger and I couldn't get enough arches, and the arches actually need to be a bit more longer, and the way things work in Tiny Glade and they clip, I just couldn't get around the physiques of the game. So if you do play Tiny Glade, you might understand the difficulties I had with having this right. And if you actually do end up making this build, I would love to see it. Like, you could tag me in on Pinterest, and I would love to see what you did and how you did this build. So yeah, I'm just cutting the wall pieces now and trying to fit them as well as I can, but it's quite difficult and it's not always the way I would want it to be. And as you can see, I'm just struggling a little bit, moving them around, and I think that sheep is still flying since we poked it last time. I'm not sure when the sheep started flying, but I think it will be flying around for a while. So you'll be seeing that sheep going, flying around like Mary Poppins with the umbrella everywhere. But it's very cute. I love it. I love how they thought about this with the sheep. It's such a little cool, wholesome moment with the sheep flying around. And now I just can't focus on anything else, and I just want to see when does it actually drop. Anyhow, if you do want to go to Prague to visit the city, I recommend actually going in the winter, because you could actually have a really, really nice time. And hear me out, when you go in the winter, and if you like cafes, art galleries, museums also, and just restaurants, I think Prague is the best place ever. You have so many cool places to go to. Like, I didn't really plan on going to places from what I remember. Except museums, art galleries, like been to the castle and all that. But like the food part, it was not planned, and there were so many cool little cafes and cool just restaurants to pop into and just try out the food and just see the vibe. And the vibe everywhere was really good. It was so cozy, and when you go outside in that cold weather and you go inside finally after, I don't know, like 30 minutes walking or maybe an hour, then you really appreciate being inside. It's like you just reset and feel so much appreciation for being inside and being warm, and it feels like much more rewarding. So yeah, I really recommend, if you can, just try out. If not, going to Prague in that weather, maybe you could try going to another city. However, do make sure when you book your accommodation that you have proper heating at the place, and also when you're packing your bag that you have warm clothing. Like my go-to clothing is wearing a jacket and a scarf all the time, gloves, a warm hat, and my jacket is like one of those puffy jackets, a really long one, so it keeps me warm and comfortable. So that's really, really important. And I think you could actually have a super nice time, especially if you have not tried traveling in the winter. Give it a go at least once and try to see if you like it. And yes, of course, again, do make sure that you plan beforehand, just so everything is properly planned out. And for example, you'd have to check if museums are open, just to make sure. Try to double check also on their websites, because sometimes you'll see that on like Google that something is open, and actually maybe they have like a holiday, like a public holiday or something, and on Google it says that the place is open, and then you'll walk, I don't know, for an hour there and maybe it's actually closed. So try to also check on their website and maybe social media. That would be a good idea to see if the place is temporarily closed, so you don't have to be outside too much unnecessarily in the cold weather. And also you make sure that you don't actually miss out on events, and you use your time as best as you can. And I still think the ship is flying. I keep looking at it and I'm not sure if we did anything to make it float again. So I don't know how long it's been, but it's still over there, which is fascinating. Wow. I wonder where the other one is. Again, it's very distracting. And now I'm going in with the little house elements. I don't know what to call those. They literally look like, if you look at the images with the bridge, you can see that it has like these little side somethings. It looks literally like these little houses. That's why I'm using the little houses. And later on I'm going to change it right now, I think, or just I'm checking it. But I'm going to change it to another color to try to fit it in more with what the bridge looks like, so it's more fitting. And now I'm also having a hard time with placing down the walls. I don't know about you, but sometimes the walls just really don't cooperate, and they're a hassle to move around. And then I just made a mistake there and deleted something I didn't want to delete. But it's all good because I'm going to fix that in a moment. Yeah, so if you go to Prague, I definitely also recommend trying out local cuisine. I could not say the names of the local foods because it's so hard to pronounce, but you can look up the traditional meals, and then you can just look at the pictures and see what you like the most. And of course, if you go there, most of these places have people that actually speak English, and then maybe they can recommend something that you'd like. But they usually have a lot of foods, a lot of meals with meat and potatoes, and they do some sort of dumplings I believe they're dumplings. Yeah, they're dumplings with like no, it wasn't potatoes. It's bread dumplings with maybe some seasoning. I don't know, they're just like these pretty big dumplings that they put on a plate with some sauce and some meat. But those dumplings are really, really good. I had that a couple of times and I was never disappointed. It was super filling. Everything I ate there actually made me feel very full, and walking outside then just helped. And also, because it was a cold weather, I felt like the foods, like the meals, were very fitting for cold winter days. So that was a plus as well. I can't really say anything bad about it, because even the things that would be considered as bad, like the bad weather, like it even snowed the last day I was there, and it made the place just look absolutely magical, which actually makes me wonder, and I should have actually built this on a snowy landscape maybe. That would have been also very, very fitting. However, I chose the olden type of map just because I felt like it works well with the medieval looking city. Yeah, that I think that's what I did. And yeah, well, actually in the meantime we finished the bridge. It's not completely finished, but the lower part of it has been done, and I went in to build one of the towers that I'm trying to place as best as I can. And I know I will have some issues with just how the walls clip here, and if you know how to like disable the wall clipping or just modify it, please let me know in the comments, so I can actually try doing that, because I keep having issues with how these things clip. And I was actually lucky because there were the little white dots that I could drag around and place them more in line with what I wanted the shape to be. And now you may be wondering why I'm using this and why I didn't actually use the tower itself, the tower building. Well, I'm not going in with the tower building fully. I wanted to leave the bottom part hollow because I need to actually create an archway through it. And I know that other times when I placed the tower itself without these walls in the hollow part, right, I had issues with the archway being there, because I would keep getting the door that would, that you can have the archway or either the door appear, and I would have the door appear many times and I couldn't get rid of it. And sometimes I would have the archway, but not always. And here I just placed down some elements because I was not sure why my archway was not appearing, and I was testing it out if it's working on the other side. And as you can see, I'm already collecting some of the little decorational items on the side, so I have them there for future use, because I don't want to go through all these items once again, and I might actually use the breads in that stall are really perfect, because I think that's something the city would have, as they do have lots of interesting baked goods. And about the baked goods, here's something to actually avoid when you go to Prague. I'd recommend that you not buy baked goods like pastries from, cafes and the city center. The city center, I mean specifically this area and the two sides that are close to this area, because the price is going to be very expensive. So what I'd suggest is going into one of those local looking supermarkets, and you can actually find similar pastries, and they are super cheap. I know there was something, I'm not sure if it was with plum filling or poppy seeds, I don't know anymore, but it was this baked pastry goodness with some kind of a really nice filling. And I know that in the city center and like surrounding the city center, in the more touristy looking places or fancy looking places, it was, I couldn't say the price, but it was quite expensive. And when I went into one of those supermarkets that looked local and you couldn't actually see that many touristy looking people there, it was like super cheap, like maybe €1, which is about $1-ish. I couldn't say exactly how much, but like I think €1 is close to $1. And if I would say how much that was in the city, maybe like $4 or $5 or €4 or €5, the same type of pastry. And they actually did make it freshly in the supermarket as well. So I would say if you're on a budget, then avoid going to these places to buy your pastries. From there, buy it the way people actually living in Prague would. So go to a supermarket or try to find a more local baker, maybe at the outer side of Prague. Maybe there you could, if you look, you could find one. So if you don't actually stay in the city center, maybe you would actually have even a bakery that could be there. About the tower, I'm just going in with the roofing elements, placing them down, making sure they're the right size. And as you can see, I'm just using the tiny houses, just placing them, shrinking them down, keeping the roofing element. And then in a moment I will go in also with the proper color, so making sure it fits with the entire build. And of course, I am trying to be as close to reality as possible. However, I do feel there were quite a few limitations in the build. Like, if you look at it, it looks similar when it's done. It's very similar to what the actual deal is like. However, if you want to go in with a lot of detail, then you wouldn't have everything needed. So later on I will try to replicate some of those elements. Right next to the tower, on the right side here, also if you look at it now on the other side, you have a museum actually, and that's the Charles Bridge Museum. And I actually have been there, and I thought that it's not going to be maybe as exciting, because I had no expectations from a museum that's about a bridge, right? And actually going there, it was really nice. It's just very well designed, I would say. You have some nice little dioramas, and you also have some details about the bridge that you can read. Of course, I don't remember much about it. However, it is a really cool experience. So if you do visit the Charles Bridge, to complete the full experience, I recommend also checking out the museum. It's I think a short museum tour. I mean, it's not a tour because I don't think there's a tour guide. At least the one I went to, like when I went to the museum, there was no option to actually have a guide. Maybe there are certain other packages that actually include a guide. However, what I want to say is that I think it takes maybe 30 minutes or so to see the whole museum, because it's a small museum, right? You wouldn't have that much to say about the bridge, but still it feels like that's a lot of information to just say about the bridge, because you could see, like, there were, I think, maybe 6 rooms, like 6 smaller rooms full of just information on the bridge, pictures with what it looked like back in the days, dioramas. I think they also had like pieces of the old bridge being the former Judith Bridge. I'm not sure about that, so I might be wrong, but they had for sure some kind of pieces of the bridge. However, there is a part in the museum which was very exciting for me, because you can actually walk down underneath like the structure, that the foundation, I would say, the pavement area, and you can actually see like a part, like, I think it was like the basement actually of the museum. So you can go down on the staircase and actually see a part of the bridge. Now, I'm not sure anymore if it was the newer bridges part or actually the Judith Bridges part. And the Judith Bridge, which was built before, is the bridge that actually was built in around 1100. So that's a really long time ago. And I do think it was a Judith Bridge, because otherwise I don't think why I would have been still so fascinated about it, right? Yeah, so definitely, if you get the chance to visit Prague, I recommend checking out the museums. And if you want to see more and learn more about the bridge, do check out the Charles Bridges Museum. You might find it interesting. And speaking of museums, I also recommend going to the Banksy Museum. There is this one that's in a church actually. So what they thought about, the people from Prague, is that they have this church that's really decrepit and they're not using it anymore. So it's just there, kind of close to the city center, or in the city center, I think. So what can we do with it to make it more meaningful and just to use it to boost our tourism? So they came up with actually making it into the Banksy Museum with the same structure. Like, they kept actually the church's structure inside, which is really, really awesome. So if you heard about Banksy and you love Banksy, I really recommend it. And if you don't know about Banksy is basically, well, I don't think we know who Banksy is. Banksy is a person, or maybe a group of people that create graffiti all over the world. And the graffiti is really meaningful because it tackles all sorts of like political or social problems. And this way they just convey these issues and all the feelings of people regarding these issues through art, which is, I think, really, really awesome. What people do usually when there's a Banksy exposition is that they actually bring full pieces of wall, and that's on the exposition for people to see. And I think there were actually pieces of wall as well as recreations or just images of the pieces of art that have been found all over the world, which I think is really, really awesome. And also there was this music playing the entire time, which was super fitting. So I don't want to spoil really much about it, but anyhow, if you would go there, you would already know that you're going to a church. So, and the music is not a big spoiler, but I don't want to spoil anything else. It's just a really nice experience. I think it's a unique thing that you can do if you visit Prague. So I recommend checking it out. I'm just moving around now some of the windows that I figured that could work, because I was thinking, how can I somehow replicate all those little design elements that the tower has. So I literally just took some of those windows, which I feel like had a similar shape to what is on the real building, and I just placed a couple of them. And now I'm also changing the color of the roof because I felt like the mossy part was not giving me the right vibe that I would need. And then I had some issues with how those walls are placed, and I think I'll have some more problems with it later. Or maybe I have actually fixed it fully at this point. But as you can see, I also have added a little, what should I call that? Just another section to the tower on the left side of it. Because when I looked at the image, I actually noticed that on some of the images you could actually see that other side peeking out. So I added it, and it actually has these little windows on the side, so I added those as well. And going forward, I just took these pieces of walls and I am moving them around, making them a bit larger. And these are the lanterns on the bridge, because you have these old school black lanterns. However, they are standing and I cannot place the lanterns onto the bridge. Oh, well, I can place them, but they will be placed actually onto the bridge as it is, like just the lantern part, and not with an actual, I don't know what you call those. They're not standing, they usually do. Like if you go outside in the city, you don't have lanterns on the ground, they're like standing, right? They have that, I'll just call it a leg. They have a leg that they're standing on. So that's what I'm trying to replicate over here. And actually later on I will fix this, because I noticed that if you look at those arches, you can see them peeking through, and I don't want that. So later on that will be fixed. And also I'll change the color to them to the darkest one, because they are actually black in reality, and I'll have to set that up as well to be a bit more realistic, right? Also, I did not do anything to try to replicate the statues. I kept thinking on what to do, but nothing actually worked. I did a test build on that to see what I could do with the wall elements, but we're really, really limited, so I didn't actually put anything there. Also, the objects that randomly generate when you place down doors and windows are not actually covering this properly, as in I could not get the right item that I could go like, yeah, this looks like a statue, I could use this to make it look like a statue, because I felt like it looks silly if like I add a pumpkin there, for example. So I didn't add anything. It's as it is. over this side, on the castle district side, we have these stairs that I am just moving around and placing them down, trying to again make it look like what it is in reality, just to make sure that I got it all right. I'm going in with the colors, of course, and soon I'll be starting to build the actual tower on the other side. Well, it's not one tower, it's two towers, a smaller one and a bigger one. They're connected with like a sort of bridge in the middle. You'll see in a bit. And if you go onto the castle district side, you'll see from the end of the bridge, or I think you might actually see it already from the middle of it. However, I know that it's a bit more, not like it's more deeper inside the second bridge, so you might not be able to see it from the buildings that may be in front of it. You might not be able to get a good view of it from the bridge. However, I'm not fully sure about this anymore. I know that I had some issues with actually identifying the right images with the two sides with the towers. If you go onto the sort of right side here, you'll get to the castle and the castle area with the Golden Lane. The Golden Lane is this place next to the castle where I think people that actually used to work in the castle, or is for the king, work for the king, they used to live there. And from what I remember, it could have been the place where the alchemists lived. However, I did not look this info up once again. It makes sense why it's called Golden Lane, because what was their goal after all? To create gold, hence the name. I did visit that part as well as like the castle and the Golden Lane section as well. And if you do go here, it's a super cool walk. You feel like you traveled back in time. When you get to the castle, you'll have that feeling like you're in a movie set or you're back in time. It's really magical. And if you love just watching movies that are depicting the era, like medieval times, or if you love games or like Dungeons and Dragons, which are actually played in that era, it's a super cool experience. And when you walk down the Golden Lane, you'll see that you can actually enter some of those buildings. I think you need to buy tickets though, so please check that. You can enter the buildings, and all the buildings are like super small, and they have expositions in all of them. It's really cute. The buildings are really cute actually. They're small and very colorful and fun to look at. Here I am going actually pretty fast with the building because I have already done it before. And I actually did a test build on the tower before because I had to figure some things out, and I was actually going a bit faster than the first time when I started. It took me much longer because I was not used to all the tools that well to be able to see it how I want to place it, and to actually have the vision that I had in my head be born on this canvas. I'll just call it a canvas. And this is basically pretty much the same as the other tower, though I don't think it has that extra little side. The other one does. So I didn't add that. I didn't see that. Now I'm thinking about it if I missed that, because there are buildings here that are covering it, and maybe I missed it, but I don't think I did. I did look for this at this building for a longer time, so I think I should have seen it. Now I'm going back to the other building just to make sure that I add windows over there as well, because I just said that we need a bit more detail. And I think later on I might go in and change some of these frames of these windows. Now on this side, you may have noticed that we have more of the other windows, and also these square ones. Square, what do you call those? I might be wrong with that part. But yeah, I went in with the other windows, and now I am creating just this. Are these called alcoves or archways? I think they're archways, so I'm going in with the archway on both sides, and I'm actually quite happy with how I leveled up my skills, with how I'm actually using the wall tool, because at first I just had such a hard time to figure out how to deal with it and how to do it properly. And now that I say that, I actually did make a mistake, so I have to redo this. That happens sometimes. So I'm just redoing the wall element here to make sure that it looks good, it looks neat, just like the other one on the other side. If you do go to Prague, I recommend you go and check out the vegan place called I think something with, well, I forgot what it's called. I was about to say the name and I just can't remember. However, there is this vegan place that was really nice because the people there were super kind. I remember seeing a family there who had all sorts of special needs, and the people had so much patience. They literally went through the entire menu and even told the people what they have in the meals and checked the ingredients for every question, every request the family had. It was a very, very nice experience overall to just see how kind these people were, because I have never seen waiters and people that work at a restaurant, chefs, being so patient and so calm. Although I am not a vegan, I just wanted to try out that place. I like trying out all sorts of foods, and I felt like going to a vegan place. I think I actually had too much meat as well there, so I wanted to have a little bit of a change. And the food itself was alright, was good, well, as good as you can get vegan food, I guess, because it's not that easy to get vegan food right. So it's decent, but I do recommend it because of the people working there. I just would give them an honor badge for being able to just be human, I guess. They were very, very nice people. Just, I've never seen so much patience in my life. Here I'm very, very happy with my decision, because I know that I saw something on the left tower. There were these peeking little thingies on the sides. I have no idea what they're called in architecture, so I'll just call them peeking thingies. They're on all of the sides, I think, and that's what I'm trying to do. I just created this sort of wall with the bricks, and I'm making them pop out on the sides, and I will go in with, I think, those tiny windows just to make sure that you have a bit more detail, like this, as you can see. And then I just go on and change the color so you can see it a bit better with the black color. And also I will do that to every single window now, which was quite something. I don't like doing this when I forget to think about the windows, what would look best. And I realized afterwards, sometimes there are quite a lot of windows. It might have happened to you as well. So what I'm doing now is I am taking each one of these and recoloring them. And they do look a bit better. You can see a bit more of them, which is really, really good. And here I'm just adding one more bigger. No, I actually added more. So because I know there were decorations on this side as well, I'm adding these windows. And I would have wanted to do this on the other tower as well, but I couldn't actually go with this idea because I had on the other side actually a wall. So I couldn't place the window elements this well. And you'll see that we're getting close to finishing this build up. I'm just going to place a bit more color, I think, here, maybe just a few more windows to have them as design elements. And in a moment, I will just show you what the build looks like when it's finished, and I'll just add a couple of more elements to make it pop better. You'll see in a bit.